At Transformed Games, we believe that games can transform lives. In this video series, game developers share how playing and making games help them to build the character and skills to succeed in life. While told through the eyes of a game developer, the insights are universal, and we hope that you will find them useful, whatever your field or project may be. In our first episode, indie developer Tony Powell talked about his passion for old-school NES games, unforgiving games that challenge his wits and his will. These games, along with an encouraging teacher, helped him to develop the grit and focus necessary to create his own game, that rock, paper, scissors game. In this episode, AAA game designer David Schaefer talks about how games helped him develop the three dimensions of character most associated with success, which we call embracing diversity, craftsmanship, and integrity. There's also a fourth dimension that sort of permeates the other three, which is gratitude. How did we come up with these terms? Sadly, you'll have to wait for a future video to find out. But for now, you'll have to trust us. Okay, enough talk from me. Let's hear from the man himself. Welcome, David.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
Just to start things off and let our listeners know a little bit about you, would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I grew up in a pretty rural area in West Virginia in the 80s and 90s. Basically was just obsessed with video games and playing in the woods. And sometimes I'd even combine it. I'd pretend I was Link from Legend of Zelda and had a little boomerang and a bow and everything, and go play in the woods and whatnot, which was kind of cool because I found out later that the designer, Miyamoto, that's actually what inspired Legend of Zelda, was that when he was a kid, he'd play in the woods. So that was kind of a weird thing to learn about, sort of meta. Anyway, so yeah, I went to college originally as a music education major, but I switched to computers because that's where all the jobs were at the time. Did some jobs. It was computer jobs. So I wasn't really satisfied. I was like, man, I wonder if I could make games. And so I started tinkering around on the side. We didn't really have game engines or anything back then. There was libraries that you would have to get and piece them together and try to make a demo. And ultimately, those demos got me my first game developer job, Shell Games in Pittsburgh. And then I came to Los Angeles, where I'm currently at, to work at Zynga LA office. From there, I went to Respawn Entertainment, which is where I'm at now, and we just released Titanfall last year, our first game.
When you were growing up, was there any particular game or type of game that really inspired you?
I would say Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past and Super Metroid. I just loved all the exploration and all of the mystery, and the original Legend of Zelda, too. Basically, those games were what inspired me to get into games, because I was like, man, I want to make games where there's the story and you get to go and explore, and people are really into it and they want to talk about the game to their friends and share information and all that stuff. So those three, I guess.
Do you feel that game making requires certain skills and traits, or helps you build certain skills or traits?
Yeah, definitely. Pretty common traits, I would say, from other jobs, especially in the tech field. You are making software at the end of the day. Lots of things like teamwork, for sure. Unless you go solo indie, you will be working with a team of at least you and somebody else, right? And so you got to learn to work well with people. Teamwork's a big one. People always say communication is a thing that's needed, but I'd like to add that I think concise communication is important for game development, especially designers, because you go to game studios and people have these design documents and they're 50 plus pages of words, and nobody's going to read that. The physics programmer down the hall is not going to read that document. Oh, and also, it's going to change. It changes constantly. The design of a game is always being iterated on and polished and changed. So being concise with your communication visually, using lots and lots of pictures, like design documents filled with pictures to show off exactly what you intend, goes a long way. I'd say the ability to take constructive criticism and feedback is a really strong one, too. It's something that took me a little while to learn, because I would get angry. Somebody would say, this isn't that great. I'm like, yes, it is. Amazing. That's brilliant. It's not the case. Just chill out, sit back, and listen to what they're saying, and ask them follow-up questions is really important, I think. It's easy to forget to ask follow-up questions. Ask them, why does it make them feel this way? What did they think it should do instead of what it did do? And that really helps you improve the game immensely when you get that kind of information.
How do you learn that? I mean, as you said, it's rather difficult. How do you gain these skills? Do you just kind of go throw it in the fire, or is there any coursework, something that you can do in order to build these skills?
It's different for everybody, I guess, is what I'm thinking. Some people probably had some awesome coursework Like I think some of these schools like DigiPen have you working in a team, so you actually get to learn some of this stuff trial by fire during school. But I think that some of them actually teach it, like on purpose. I know that my old boss, Jesse Schell, he has a book called The Art of Game Design, which is a really good starting book for game design. And in it, he says one of the most important skills you can have as a game developer or as a designer is the ability to listen, right? So I think that like reading some books, to being proactive and trying to find ways to improve your work methodologies, I guess. Like watching people that you look up to. This guy's getting tons and tons of work done and everyone loves him. Pay attention and just see if you can learn something from them.
Game development, especially AAA game development, can take a really long time and be very challenging. What can keep you going? It feels like it has to be more than passion.
When you're working on a long project, it can get kind of daunting. It's kind of like you see this mountain that you need to climb, and you're like, man, we've got to climb this mountain, and it's huge. So really, I think it's a matter of just planning as best you can and breaking it into bite-sized chunks and going at it that way. Doing little pieces at a time, making sure they're fun, making sure they're good quality, and then just kind of hoping, I guess, that it all comes together in the end. And then just understanding, too, that the end of the project is just going to get crunchy. It's going to get really, really busy because everyone's really passionate and wants to put out the best game ever. There's only so much life you get. There's only so many games you're going to get to make, right? This could be your last game. People think that, or I think that. And so I want to put everything into it. So at the end of the project, everyone starts putting everything together and polishing it to the max. And they just want to get it to the absolute highest quality bar. And a lot of times stuff has to get cut that you really are passionate about and you really, really wanted players to see. But ultimately, cutting back on that stuff means that you can ship a polished product. I'd say honestly, though, the big thing for me that gets through crunch is the happiness of the fans. We did a midnight launch of Titanfall at a local GameStop, and it was the coolest thing ever because fans were there. We had food trucks. They were giving away prizes. We were signing copies of the game, signing posters, doing pictures. It was like we were rock stars. It's pretty cool. Like you get that attention, and it's exciting. But you're also getting to see how happy you're making these people, right? Like they're going to go home and play this game for lots of hours, and you don't get more life hours back, and they're choosing to spend that time with your game. It's humbling, I guess, and it's exciting to see them so happy. So that's the stuff that really drives me through the tough times.
Is there anything that you wish you would have known before you started in this field? Perhaps tidbits of wisdom you could share to anybody who's starting off in the field now.
Sure. I wish I would have known that I wanted to do design, because I was a game programmer for 4 or 5 years before game design. I'll be honest. I mean, I was competent, but my heart really wasn't in it. I was always gravitating towards all the more interesting things like level design, architecture, storytelling, user interface design, the psychology of gameplay. Like, how do you get someone to know where to go in a game without specifically putting text on the screen? Like, all of those problems are really interesting problems to me to solve. I would urge anybody listening to like really, really think about what it is that you like. Had I really sat down and thought about it, I would have been able to identify that. But I just kind of took hey, I guess I'll do programming because I have computer science degrees. I thought maybe that's the only thing I could do. I didn't really know that you could do game design even. I thought you had to go to game design school or something, and it's not the case at all. Game industry is one of those interesting places so that school doesn't matter as much as a strong portfolio, and you can do it without having to get some 4-year degree, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And a lot of people fall into that and get stuck. I would say definitely talk to people. The internet is great. There wasn't really an online game development community when I got started, and now it's everywhere. There's Reddit, there's subreddits for game development, there's all these Unity forums for the Unity game engine and the Unreal game engine. Those two are now free. You can just download it and tinker away. There's tutorials and videos, and I say, like, go out there, explore, play with it. Do you like to do the sounds? Do you like to do the art? Are you more interested in the gameplay, psychology stuff, the storytelling, the programming? Tinker with all of it and see what you like to do best, and then kind of pursue that path. There's tons of help out there, and people are willing to help. People like to help. Definitely ask questions and explore.
What are you working on now, either at work or personally, that you'd like to share?
Well, I can say that at Respawn, we've announced that we're going to be making a sequel to Titanfall, and that is what I'm working on right now. We're all super, super excited about it, and cannot wait to get this game into people's hands. At home, it's I swear you can't turn it off. So like game developers are so passionate. Like it's at home, we all have like tinkery projects, and I've just been exploring the new Unreal 4 engine. I used the Unreal Engine in my last side projects that helped get me my current job, and it was a really awesome experience. So I was like, oh, well, let's try this new free Unreal Engine 4 with all these new bells and whistles.
That sounds great. One of the things I really admire about game developers is that they just have a curiosity, a passion to learn. I think if you have that, it doesn't matter where you start, you're going to get somewhere in life.
Right. I'd honestly say that those are some of the most valuable skills is the self-driven curiosity, the passion about learning and always improving yourself. That gets you so far in the game industry. It'll get you far in any industry.
How did you develop this kind of tinkering mindset? How did you get this passion for learning?
That's a good question. I think it was my parents. They always encouraged me to explore and experiment. I was an only child, so I had to make my own entertainment a lot of times. So
Okay.
I just end up like playing with Legos or constructs or playing in the woods and building things out of sticks and little forts and things. And my dad is super handy, and so he taught me how to use all kinds of tools and things. And so just kind of a whole lifetime, I guess, of experimenting and being curious. I guess I was lucky.
Sounds like we have great parents and good childhood. Happy to hear that. Well, thanks so much, David. I know you're busy, and thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about all kinds of things.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I hope it is very helpful for somebody.
According to a recent study, love of learning and gratitude are the two most important traits for well-being. David has both. How? His parents certainly played an important role, but so did games. Zelda fueled his thirst for exploration, just like Minecraft does for kids today. Games aren't the only way, but they can be transformative experiences. Exploration leads to self-knowledge, which makes living a purposeful life or following your passion possible. And what of gratitude? Game making is an excellent character and skill building activity, and we'd love to see more kids at least try it once. It will give them a taste of coding and help them learn teamwork, communication, and how to improve themselves through feedback and asking for help. Not only that, it will help them develop an appreciation for how much work goes into the games they play, and a sense of gratitude to people who respond to and support their own creations. These are all skills and traits that would be beneficial in any field. If we want our kids to thrive, then let's give them the tools to create their own well-being. If they're going to play games anyways, then let's encourage them to play and make transformative games. To find out more about David's work, please check out his website and follow him on Twitter. If you like this video, please share it with others who might like it as well. And if you or anyone you know would like to be interviewed for this series, please contact me. I'd love to chat with you. Thanks again, David, and thank you for joining us. Until next time, take care.